Hello and welcome to Lorbeck Luxury Cars. I'm Harry and on this edition of the Friday Drive, again, we're not doing the Friday Drive. Why? Because this week we're doing something a little bit different again. This week, I promise not to use the C word at all, not even say it once. That's my promise to you. Instead, this week, we're going to do a 1-minute history on 8 of our favourite and what we think are some of the most important car brands to have ever existed. So, first up, Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the oldest car manufacturer in the world and the car manufacturer who has had the greatest impact on the automobile. Founded by Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, the first production car was the 1885 Benz patent motor wagon, which costs the equivalent of about $5,500 in today's money. Since then, Mercedes has dominated the automotive world and is the manufacturer of choice for leaders, dictators and captains of industry all around the world. Since then, Mercedes-Benz has dominated the motorsport world, having won 6 Constructors' Championships, 8 Drivers' Championships, 108 race victories in Formula One alone. As a pioneer of technology, Mercedes either invented or was the first to use direct injection, anti-lock brakes, the crash test, and they were the first car fitted with an airbag, just to name a few. Mercedes-Benz, the most important car manufacturer in the history of the automobile. A name synonymous with performance, passion and speed. Founded by Enzo Ferrari as Scuderia Ferrari in 1929 to produce race cars, Enzo had little interest in building road cars. It wasn't until 1939 that Ferrari was founded and due to contracts with Alfa Romeo, in 1947 produced its first car, the 125S, of which only 2 were built, thus starting the Ferrari brand down the road to become one of the most recognisable and powerful brands in the world. Since its inception, Ferrari has gone on to dominate Formula One with 16 Constructors' Championships, 15 Drivers' Championships, 237 race victories and 767 podium finishes. Ferrari has also won Mille Miglia 8 times, the Targa Florio 7 times and the 24-hour Le Mans 9 times. This reputation has made classic Ferrari some of the most collectible cars in the world, with the most expensive car sold at auction being a 250 GTO which sold for $48.4 million US. Ferrari, the most powerful brand in the world, is heralding new benchmarks in performance every single year. Founded by Henry Ford in 1903, Ford is responsible for bringing the car to the masses with a new, efficient production lines. Their 9th model, the Model T, was the first to run down a production line. It was affordable, reliable and comfortable. Each year it was produced, the Model T became cheaper and cheaper until it was the equivalent of about $7,000 in today's money. At the end of its 20-year production, some 16.5 million Model Ts were sold. Since then, Ford has been an icon of the automotive world. With the GT40, it dominated the Europeans at their own game at Le Mans with 4 consecutive wins, as well as 176 Formula One race wins, 688 NASCAR wins, 91 World Rally victories and 338 V8 supercar wins. A global juggernaut, Ford today produces cars all around the world, including 88 years of manufacturing in Australia, and have brought the world icons such as the Mustang, Capri, F-Series, Thunderbird, the Lincoln Continental, the Transit, the Shelby Cobra and GT350, the Escort. The list goes on and on. And now pioneering new fuel types and technologies, there is no doubt that Ford will be a major player for many more generations to come. Porsche. Founded in Stuttgart, Germany by Ferdinand Porsche, Porsche was originally a company that developed vehicles on behalf and consulted companies on building motor vehicles. Their history includes designing tractors, building tanks for World War II and ultimately designing the Volkswagen, the people's car. The second best-selling car of all time, the Beetle sold over 21.5 million units and was the foundation on which the Porsche was built. From the Beetle, the 356 was born, a successful race car, and it was the precursor to the iconic Porsche 911. Rear-mounted, rear-drive, air-cooled flat-six, an aerodynamic body and engineering that meant it was not only the best driver's car, but also one so well engineered that it could be driven all day, every day. Even to this day, the recipe remains largely the same. The current 911 still has the iconic shape and rear-mounted flat-six engine. Such a success of the 911 from day one, the formula hasn't required fundamental change since. Land Rover. The off-road Rover. The Land Rover name was created in 1948 and has become a name associated with the best four-wheel drives ever. The first Land Rover rolled off the production line in 1948 and has mobilised armies, transported royalty, solved diplomatic crises and allowed exploration in areas previously unchartable. 1970 introduced the Range Rover, a car designed to be both comfortable, stylish, fast, practical and incredible off-road. A hit from the start, the Range Rover was displayed in the Louvre in 1970, but few could have really realised the impact the Range Rover would have on the automotive landscape. The The luxury SUV is a ubiquitous presence in our world today, and it was a revolution started by the Range Rover. Land Rover is one of the few companies that have stayed true to its original ethos. The shape, though slowly modernised, is still the same as it was in 1948, and they're still the best off-road production-ready SUVs in the world. An incredible effort to last for 70 years. Charles Rolls, an aviation and motoring pioneer, was introduced to Henry Royce, a talented engineer, and together they formed the iconic company Rolls-Royce. From the outset, Rolls-Royce was to build the finest motor cars in the world, no exception. Their first car, the 10 horsepower, was released at the Paris Salon in 1904. 16 were produced and led to the production of the now iconic Silver Ghost. A reflection of the times in a prosperous and growing nation where Melbourne was benefiting from the fruits of the gold rush, the Rolls-Royce was equally important in Australia as it was the rest of the world, with nearly 5% of all Rolls-Royces sold between 1907 and 1926, ordered new in Australia, with many more later imported. The build quality and image is one that was unrivaled back then and remains so today. Such a quality and ability of the Rolls-Royce engineers. Rolls-Royce engines powered the British and Australian armies and Air Force to victory in World War I and II. Today, though now portioned off, Rolls-Royce still manufactures jet engines, as well as the finest cars in the world, including the Phantom, Ghost, Dawn, Wraith, and Cullinan. Holden. Meat pies, VBs and Holdens, a proud and uniquely Australian brand. Holden was a staple of Australian life for over 70 years. Founded in 1856 in Adelaide, the first Holden vehicle was unveiled by Prime Minister Ben Chifley in 1948. Later known as the FJ, the original Holden was such a success, over 290,000 were sold by 1956. Since then, Holden has been building cars uniquely adapted to the Australian market, including icons like the Monaro, the Ute, the Commodore, and the Tirana, which led to huge success in motorsport, particularly V8 supercars. With 32 Bathurst wins and 20 Australian touring car and supercar championships, Holden is as much a motorsport icon as it is an Australian icon. Eventually building cars for export market, changing preferences to European and Japanese cars and SUVs, as well as smaller fuel-efficient cars, as well as some average management from GM headquarters. Holden as a manufacturer ceased in 2017, thus ending what was a proud Australian tradition of car manufacturing, possibly forever. What happens when an Italian wine enthusiast gets bored of building tractors and burning oil in factories? Simple. You take on the biggest name in the automotive world. Perhaps a madman, Ferruccio Lamborghini founded Lamborghini in 1963 and stunned the world with his first model, the 350 GT, powered by his own developed 3.5 litre 209 kilowatt V12. Just a year later, he knocked it out of the park again with the Miura. In its 57-year history, Lamborghini have not only produced a handful of models, never had any significant success in motorsport or a reputation for handling, build quality or usable performance. So why has it been such a success? It's simply because Lamborghini is the only car manufacturer that build dream cars. They build cars with passion, noise, power and incredible looks. They know that a dream car isn't just about how it goes, it's how it makes you feel. And no other car manufacturer has ever consistently created cars that bring out the inner child of everyone around it. They prove success is not just found on the racetrack, but also in the bedroom walls of young children. Aspiration creates mystique, and there is no other brand so exciting and so scary as Lamborghini. So there you have it, as much detail and history as we could cram into 1 minute per manufacturer. And when you look back and you think that the automobile has only really been a big part of humanity for 100 years and how far it's come, imagine what it's going to look like in the next 100 years' time. So, on that note, on that positive note, we'll see you next week.